I'm 𝙊'𝙉𝙚𝙞𝙣, and you're listening to What the Heck Fintech, where you'll experience and learn that Fintech is FinLife. Let's get started. Welcome back to part 2 with Jim O'Neill. If you didn't hear part 1, please go back and listen to the amazing journey and career Jim had from college to SunGard to HubSpot and to now co-founder and CTO of FinQore. Let's get started. I'd like to do another little pivot now on the technology side, because you've seen so much tech in your unbelievable career. I mean, you had, you were with a smaller company that got big, and then with SunGard, big iron, right? And then with HubSpot, I assumed you started out small with 5 people. And on the tech side, you had to keep building to get to the point you are, pivoted probably. And now in FinQore, I'm sure the technology, because of agentic, like you just said, things are changing all the time. What's your take on just for because if you've seen it all, right? And now you're in the cloud space, all that kind of stuff, right? So what do you think, right, is how to pivot all that, right? Because people are hard. I always say technology's hard, people are harder, and you already hit the hard part, right? Yeah. Let's talk about the next thing that's hard, the tech. How do you wrestle with that as a leader, as a worker, as a? I'd love to hear your take on that because you've seen it all.
So it's excitingly exhausting, honestly. And why I say that is, and everyone else says the same or similar things. Like no one has seen anything move this fast. And I think humans, we say that every time there's a huge technology change. Industrial revolution, we had never seen anything that fast. The internet, no one had ever seen anything that fast. Mobile, we had never seen it that fast. AI, we've never seen anything this fast. But the excitingly exhausting part is it is a challenge to just keep up at the 90th percentile of information now, right? And so like I could make a joke that most of us have little chatbots that summarize our daily news, but I think the frontier companies are moving at such a pace because AI is a force multiplier in their own capabilities and outputs, that mere mortals like us, carbon-based life forms, do have a hard time keeping up. What I feel very lucky is we've just got this amazing team of very AI forward thinkers who really do enable themselves to get more comprehension time. I'm not going to say thinking time, but more comprehension time to understand what's possible today so that we can use that for our customers. Now, to answer your question on tech proper, whether I like this or not, or we like this or not, like the world does seem to be concentrating on the kind of two big camps. We've got the hyperscalers and we've got the open source, and hopefully open source prevails. But there's a lot of capital going to the hyperscalers. But from a pure tech standpoint, the just sheer amount of computing now available and being brought online monthly, weekly, daily, we just have to assume that the models get better, faster, cheaper, that then creates more opportunities for more agentic and automation work, and therefore smarter algorithms, smarter software. I mean, we are just in this flywheel that's accelerating, not decelerating. And I think for any tech company, if you're really not looking at your own internal workflows, and I think we still have a long way to go, even though we're pretty AI first, it's going to be hard to compete in a few years because the frontier companies are coming down the stack, right? I mean, they're really getting into the business use cases now. So I think for any startup or scale up out there, my encouragement, we're doing the same as fast as humanly possible, or AI possible, is retooling your entire culture to be an AI first culture, which is a big, like you said, I've been around 30 years and maybe you're of a similar vintage in tech. The pace of change is so fast that your team really does have to think like a 20-year-old, not a 50-year-old, right? Because the models and the way you work is just fundamentally different than when I grew up in tech.
Right, yeah. And the data's growing and growing and growing. And sometimes models to have that fast response with the model. The data's so big, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So that's another challenge until we do quantum computing. Right?
Yes.
That's another challenge that we have.
And let me talk on that for one sec. So I think it's
Sure.
an important topic. A lot of companies, including ours at the beginning, were trying to figure out how to, without actually training models, which is, very expensive and a whole different capital, league of capital, right? You're in the hundreds of millions of dollars, not in the tens of millions of dollars. What's been really fascinating to watch is the evolution of data architectures. So we, all started off probably in, again, you and I probably started off on mainframes where there were just big old file systems, right? vSAM, if we were CICS, all that fun stuff.
Yep.
To the advent of the relational database, which has been the bellwether, right? Relational databases have been around for 30 years and they're still going strong. However, to effectively work with these language models, they prefer vectors of data, not columns of data, right? And so there is this, I don't want to say it's a transformation, but it is an evolution now of how to efficiently get the right amount of data into a model so that you don't overwhelm the model or overfit it and still get the accurate answers. And that's been an engineering positive challenge for us. We think we've made some pretty interesting approaches to that. But the other thing I would suggest for startups as you go through your data evolution is, to your point, Rob, you're only going to end up with more data. We're producing data at a rate, again, the world has never seen. 2, the models need a constraint of that information to be effective. And 3, how do you do that in a performant way? Because even though we can say, let the agent go off and do work for a while, most of us still expect responses in 10 to 20 seconds. Our patience is very low as a human race. And so until the agents are fully autonomous while we're sleeping and they wake up and send us their results of their analysis overnight, most of us are still waiting for the web page to refresh while the GPTs are doing their homework for us. So the data problem is only getting, I think, more pronounced. And it's really fun to watch the data industry react with these vector databases and other clever ways to cohabitate with language models.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother level. Before it was just structured and unstructured.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Now it's
all
totally
the above. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a totally different game.
Yeah.
Another question I'd like to ask you, right? Because it goes back to the heart of FinQore, right? Is so, I mean, there's so much financial data, so much non-financial data. Putting that together is magic, right?
Yeah.
If you can do it, right? And it's hard. Sometimes it takes 1 hop, 2 hop, 15 hops, right? To kind of get those connections. And that's because I started out as, accounting finance, right? And then got into tech, right? Because that was my undergrad, accounting, actually. And then, but you went the other way. You started tech and then got more into the finance side, even though they all just hang together. Like we just came from different ends of the spectrum together.
Tech costs money.
Isn't it? Because it makes sense. You need both. And you understand both. And it was a learning curve. I had to learn like the data side, early in my career, because I realized somewhere I did practice as an accountant, but I didn't love it. So I love the tech side, and I got into it, and I was a developer, and all. So we'll put that to the side. So so understanding the financial data, that is so, and we understand. I'd love to hear your take on this. Is that I always say everything costs. Everything costs, right? And someone said to me once, Rob, you can't monetize a hug. I go, if I have the right data, I think I can. If I know productivity of that person before and after and what they do and how they do it before that hug, and then after that hug, I can tell you I could do and figure out the monetization of that hug, right? That's an extreme case, right? Yeah. So, but if I go, everything, right? So, a lot of people don't even want to monetize it, where I think some of the things you're doing at FinQore is to help monetize that, so people get realization. Because I always tell all my students and everything and everybody, $1, everyone knows what $1 means. If I say something costs $1 or something costs $1 billion, they know they understand, or I should say more like 100 million, a billion people already go, wow, it's 100 billion, right? So what right there how big the scale is just by that. It's the best metric in the world is $1, right? So and that seems, and I could be wrong, the core of FinQore is put those two together, and it goes back to that non-financial data together with financial data. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So this is someone else's quote, and it sounds a little stronger. They're like financial data. There's like an iron triangle or the Bermuda Triangle of customer data being like the demographics of the customer, their name, where they are located, their headquarters, their employees, that kind of fun stuff. Two is the billing data, which is how much money does that business make, right? And there's a lot of details in that billing data, and a lot of it becomes unstructured, right? Because there's notes on an invoice, right? Because, you know, when you're a big company, you might have systems that produce the perfect invoices. That's 1% of the population. Most invoices have a note that you gave me a 10% discount because I called right before the end of the business day and you and I shook hands on a deal, right? And that gets kind of written into the notes or typed into the notes. And that is a combination of structured and unstructured. And then the third is actual organizational awareness, right, of the customer and of their business. And that's living in emails and Slacks and Google Drive and Office and Outlook and blah, blah, blah. That's what's fascinating now about what's happening with AI and agent work, because you can actually bring all three together. So that iron triangle can now be brought together of structured data, unstructured data, and then organizational and institutional data that is mostly unstructured, but no one ever had access to before. And the fact of it's in your email, it's in your Slack, it's in your Google Drive or your OneDrive. That is where LLMs are just absolutely mind-boggling effective. And there's billion-dollar companies like Glean, if you've heard of them, coming out of this. Claude and ChatGPT have built knowledge connectors so that you can connect those systems all and let the LLM pull that data in real time. So where FinQore both invests and benefits from that is we can now give a highly precise opinion using both math and LLMs, which are more subjective, on the quality of revenue and the quality of earnings, because we can apply algorithmic logic as well as LLMs, which are more human-like logic. And you can then feed those into a second LLM and get a second opinion, which was unaffordable before, right? If you think about it, you're not going to hire two audit firms. You're not going to hire Deloitte and PwC and say, let's have a bake-off, people. It's just not affordable. But with LLMs, you can kind of get away with it for dollars, not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the world, Rob, especially when it comes to data, to your structured and unstructured, we're in new territory, which is just fascinating.
Wow. Yeah, we really are. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it fun. Who knows what's going to come up next, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that, Jim. So now I don't like to look at my notes, but I'm going to ask you a few. It's going to be rapid fired questions.
Yep.
Now, if you're ready, right? Is this something new? I haven't done this, but I try. Let's see. You're the first. You're the guinea pig on this.
Okay.
For this podcast.
And I promise I won't use ChatGPT to respond to them. I'll do them.
You can. I only want you to spend, at the most 15 seconds on your answer. No, quick, rapid. First thing. Favorite food?
You're gonna laugh. It's still pizza. It's the universal startup food. It never gets old. I still love pizza.
So I go one level deeper. Like what kind is it?
Meat.
Pepperoni, or do you like the all meat?
All meat. Just I'm a carnivore.
Awesome! Wow, that's very cool. Me too. I love the meat lovers. I love that. Okay, what's your hobby?
So I said I still like to wire because I was a double E. I spend most of my time working on clean energy systems for my house. So when I'm not coding, I am doing wiring and electrical work.
You got your own soldering tool and everything too?
We do everything from rooftop to underground. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I got certified. I got certified solar installer about a decade ago, and yeah, it's a hobby and a passion.
Wow, I might have to hire you. That sounds pretty good.
It's dangerous. I don't have insurance for that.
Every tool a fintech startup should adopt early.
Yeah, so I read this. This is a hard one. I would say this is less relevant or less specific to fintech. Every business should be using some sort of AI note taker like a Granola or a Phantom. And the reason being is the productivity gains, and you have to tell people you're recording and it becomes a cultural thing. The ability to action out of conversations and meetings has just become business changing. So I would recommend a Granola, which is kind of our team's favorite, but there's plenty of these AI note takers that do action items and assignments and workflow tracking, which all that stuff was lost in the ether because people would take notes in notebooks. or they would do nothing, or they would send a random Slack that just got lost. So I think a note taker is a game changer for any company, fintech in particular.
Yeah, yeah, and in person too.
Yeah,
Wow,
exactly.
yeah, I agree. Let's see. Most underrated engineering decision founders ignore.
Developer friction, and I'm feeling the pain right now. So we're only a few years old. Developers need and expect to be able to ship code within minutes, not 30 minutes, not an hour. And so as companies' products get bigger and broader, if you can't ship code in minutes, your engineering team eventually is going to revolt, and they should, because it'd be like a doctor trying to do surgery and they're waiting in the standing room, for 3 hours in order to do a 5-minute operation. So dev productivity is the biggest thing that including me, technical founders, we get numb to over time. We got to stay sharp.
Well, are you looking at DevOps or anything like that, or is that too much?
So it's the whole developer experience is the fancy term, DevX, and yes, so all of the above: AI ops, infra ops, DevOps, SecOps. It all needs to be fast.
Wow, wow, that's good. It's great. I'll have to look up all those things now. Favorite book or resource that shaped your leadership style?
So there's an old one that a lot of people may not know. It was called The Purple Cow by Seth Godin. It was one of Seth Godin's early books. And it taught me some very important things about the most important person in a company is usually, and this might be a little dated, but I'll say it, usually the chief of staff or the EA. And if you actually support the people that support the founders and the leaders, and you treat them with respect, but you also become their champion, you can move mountains in a company. And I have never forgot that.
Wow, I'm sure that's timeless. That definitely hardest lesson learned as a CTO. I know you had you've had CPO, CEO, co-founder, but CTO, what was that hardest lesson?
Saying no to really time-sensitive, high-risk code deployments. I have done a couple that almost cost me my career, or told people to do it. And confidence and arrogance are cousins. And I think for CTOs, it's easy to get overly confident in the tooling and the scaffolding. And you got to remember, at the end of the day, we're all humans, at least right now. And irreversible operations like a security change, you just really have to be. So I'm contradicting what I said about velocity earlier. The CTO is ultimately responsible to make those decisions and choose wisely when it's a high blast radius decision.
Yeah. I've seen that too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a fine line that you walk on all the time with that.
Yeah.
So how about this? One word that describes your career journey. One word. See if you can pull it off. If you break it, no big deal.
So I was going to break it. I'm going to say timing. I was going to say luck and timing, but it's just timing. I've been in the right place at the right time, and I've been willing to put the time in to reciprocate on the opportunity. So timing is everything.
Time. Yeah, it is. It's so much. Now I'm going to add a bonus one in there. In like 3 words, or you can go 4 words, the experience that you thought when you went to the Boston Fed for the Mass FinTech Hub, career networking and summit, different type of career fair where there were recruiters and industry people, and then a panel at the end. And in the beehive at the Boston Fed, 3 or 4 words.
One word, energizing. We'll just
it was a buzz, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was like I was walking around, I was working it, I was doing a workshop. It was like moving, tables around, round tables. There was like a networking thing, not a behind a desk where you have your little piece of paper from go give it to the recruiter, everyone waiting in line. So definitely it was different. We didn't know what was going to happen during that. And it turned out to be like better than we ever imagined. And it still has a lot of way to get better too, which we'll do in the future. And Jim, thank you for doing that. That was awesome.
No, it was great. But energizing is a single word. It was, I forgot, most career fairs start to get tired. That was not tired. It was the opposite of tired.
We had muffins too. So we kept
there we go.
You get the energy going. So Jim, what event? You do events all the time. I see you're all over, not just in the United States. You're on the globe, right? You and Vipul making it happen, right? And the whole team. What events do you can shamelessly plug any events you want at this point that you want the crowd to know about?
Oh, I didn't prepare for that one. Because I'm so AI obsessed right now, I would suggest any AI meetups in particular that are either local, or if you can afford the trip to the West Coast, is a tremendous number of AI. The amount of information you can learn a lot online and in Reddit, and I'll be a little snarky. There's great Reddit groups and threads out there. I still think I think AI is forcing a lot of us to become more human. And so we're actually going out meeting our customers right now and meeting prospects and shaking hands, because the AIs are going to do their thing, but it is the human connection and the human trust. And so I would, any type of AI networking event, I think you will be blown away by how much creativity and knowledge people are surfacing with these AI events. So I would do an AI event.
Awesome. I try to go. I go to biotech AI.
Yeah.
And I learn a lot about that stuff in the Boston area.
That's awesome.
Biotech going. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So, okay, our audience, if they want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that with FinQore, whatever, from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint, from a coaching event, whatever, what's the best way to have this audience connect with you?
Yeah, Jim at FinQore, FinQore.com. The reason being is social media now has gotten so bot heavy and so influencer heavy. I'm just not that cool. So good old email. I have inbox zero, and I do have an AI assistant that helps me. Happy to respond to emails.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. If it's not, you get all the text and you get the email. I can't go to bed until my email box is empty. I'm fanatical about that. I got to get back to people.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Wow. So, Jim, I want to say thank you so much. What your stories, unbelievable. Our audience is probably wants to reach and hug you right now. What you get, so much coaching, so much great learning for all of us, including myself. Jim, I want to say thank you so much for joining What the Heck FinTech.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity. I'd love to talk to you, Rob.
Awesome, Jim.
All
okay.
Right.
Bye now.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to What the Heck FinTech. Make sure you tune into our next episode as we continue to interview FinTech leaders and share real-world stories from across the FinTech ecosystem, so you can fully understand that FinTech is FinLife.